Hello, my name is Eric Olson. I'm here in Bellingham, Washington, and today we've got the new Fox 34 SL. This fork replaces the 34 step cast, and the big difference is it now offers 130 millimeters of max travel as opposed to the 34 step cast, which offered 120 millimeters. Some other key differences are that now the post brake mount is 180, and there's the option to run larger, where on the previous you could only run 180 max with a post mount 160. They've also got this new generatively designed crown with, holes in it, so that's kind of interesting. And most notably, this fork has almost identical weight to the previous 34 step cast, while offering significantly more stiffness and that increased 130 max travel. Fox also has a new remote that they're calling the Twin Stick that is a dropper and remote lockout that can be used with the 34 SL remote damper. On this version, I've gone for the Grip SL with the 3-position lever, and there's also a Grip X option for people who are running a more trail or downcountry setup and want that added adjustability. Now, 130 millimeters of travel isn't what we would normally classify as cross-country, but Fox is kind of pushing that maybe their cross-country racers will run 130 millimeters of travel for World Cup racing. We'll have to wait and see how the season unfolds, but I wanted to give that concept a try on this Ibis XC that I built up. This bike is a cross-country race bike designed around 120 millimeter fork like the previous 34 step cast, but I put it on the 34 SL at 130, and the geo did shift, but I don't think it's a dramatic difference. I took this bike to Arizona and did 3 big days of riding in Tucson, did a bunch of riding in the Mesa, like Hawes area, and then I went to Temecula and raced the UCI Cross Country Pro Cup there at Vail Lake on the 130, and then I just got back home to Bellingham, and I've been riding around Galbraith, and then last night we did our Tuesday short track. Overall, I would say the fork is great. I have a lot of experience on the previous 34 step cast. I really liked that fork. I've run both the Fit and the Grip SL dampers on the previous fork. I would say this fork is an improvement for the type of cross-country riding that I like to do, which is a little bit pushing it. Like, I want my cross-country bike to be able to ride pretty much every trail here in Bellingham, but I also want it to be light enough to take to the race course, and I think this is a really cool product for that. A bit of context: I've been racing cross-country since high school, and I have been on the 130 travel game for a little while. Back in 2018, I actually put a 130 Pike on my Trek Top Fuel, which at the time had a 70-degree head tube angle stock, and so it slackened it out pretty nicely. And then after that, I had this funky bike that I designed that I ran, an MRP Ribbon SL, that was around 2019. So this concept has been explored, but the big difference is that those previous forks, the Pike and the Ribbon SL, those forks were 1,800 grams, and this is just a touch over 1,400 grams, which is a huge difference. That's like 0.8 pounds of difference, and you can feel that. But then the performance of this fork is identical to those, mid-travel trail forks. The other big difference I noticed is that they've done some adjustments to the Grip SL damper. Those of you who had the previous generation know how loud it was, and it's no longer so loud, which to me was a big improvement. On the Grip X damper that I tried in here, I think it really pushed this fork into an interesting, super light but incredibly capable trail fork that I would run, honestly, even for borderline enduro kind of riding. The performance of this fork is really impressive, but I would say that for cross-country racing, I preferred the feel of the Grip SL. I think there's just a slight difference in the damping, and I think there's actually slightly more initial stroke suppleness on the Grip SL that is really useful when you're really tired and you just want front end grip and a little bit more comfort. I think the 34 SL is interesting because it would fit really well on a bike like an Ibis Ripley AF, or the new Rocky Mountain Element, or a YT Izzo, or even like a transition spur where people are often putting something like a Pike or a full fat 34 on the front and going to 130 millimeters. This will offer a significant weight savings over a lot of the forks that people are putting on their downcountry bikes, while giving them the travel that they actually want. Like I touched on earlier, the 130 option does alter geo, and so I think that cross-country racers who are really sensitive to their bar height will probably opt for a 120, but I think that is a little bit misguided, having tested the 130 on a bike designed around 120. So for true cross-country racers who are sensitive to bar height, if you want to run 130, you're going to want to adjust your fit or your cockpit to compensate, even if you're running a little bit more sag. I would say if you're running like a -6 degree stem, go to maybe a -15 degree stem. Or if you're running a -17, go to a -25, and you're gonna find the same feel and fit as you were with the 120 fork, but with the benefits of having that 130. And I think for races like BC Bike Race, Whistler Back 40, you know, these aggressive things like Moab Rocks, that's where you're gonna want to run a 130. I think certain World Cup courses, we might see the racers also choose to run 130. It will be really interesting because World Cup cross country can be quite old school. But overall, I would say the 130 travel is a valid option for bikes designed even around a 120 fork if you just adjust cockpit setup accordingly. That being said, this fork can be spaced to 120, so there's no, reason that you can't run this fork at 120 and you still reap the benefits of the increased bushing overlap and stiffness and just the better feel of the fork compared to the 34 step cast. So as I'm starting to get rained on here, I'm going to move on to Fox's new twin stick remote. It offers a 3-position or 2-position lockout button and a dropper lever in a fairly tidy package. And this is cool because there haven't been great options on the market for dropper and remote lockout integration. There have been a few prior options. So Orbea has had their squid lock, and Scott has had some pretty crazy looking twin locks. But having tried quite a few of those, I would say the Fox does actually seem like one of the more refined options. I think the closest competitor is the new squid lock. The Fox has the upper button on a ratchet mechanism, so you can go to a middle position on this 3-position, and then you can push further to the fully locked, and then you press it again to get back to the middle position, and then again a half click to get unlocked. And then below, just a normal, Fox style dropper lever. Compared to the Orbea squid lock, the lever action on this is significantly lighter, which I actually like. If you're really tired in a cross-country race, it's nice to just have a lighter feel. I also like the tactile clickiness of it. So the main story Fox is trying to tell with the new 34 SL and the twin stick is one of lightweight. It's in the name, SL. And they kind of cited some different weight numbers as a system. And with their float SL, 34 SL, and the twin stick, they're citing like a 300 gram to even 400 gram difference compared to the kind of the competitive RockShox options. So the Fox 34 SL is a native 180 mount, which I think is actually cool because I think even at the World Cup level, most people are running 180 rotors now. And so you actually have a little bit of weight savings over not having to run an adapter like you did on the previous 34 step cast. Also, compared to the previous 34 step cast, you have the option to run a larger rotor, like a 200, because the stepped design doesn't limit the total clearance like the previous version. Overall, I think the new Fox 34 SL is a really impressive product, and I would recommend it to anyone who's looking for a cross-country or aggressive cross-country fork that offers 130 travel, which, as far as I know, is kind of not offered by any other brand. So it's a unique product. If you have something like a Rocky Mountain Element or a YT Izzo or a Transition Spur, I think you should seriously consider this fork. And then if you're an out-and-out cross-country racer who's aspiring to the World Cup level, you should consider how maybe something like 130 travel could give you an advantage. So yeah, that's the new Fox 34 SL and the new twin stick remote. Let me know if you have any questions about the fork in the comments. I'm hoping to do a few more reviews and content type pieces for the Loam Wolf this coming year. So also let me know in the comments what things you'd like to see, what products you'd like to see reviewed, what rabbit holes you'd like me to go down. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Now go ride your bike.